NJ. The microphone's not working. Okay. All right, it's time. Real quick introductions, everyone. If only if you have something that you want to announce. Otherwise, we're running out of time.
Kathy Vonderbrink, Riverdale Optimist.
Larry Horowitz, Riverdale Optimist.
And Barbara Lane, Riverdale Optimist.
I'll introduce you. Kathy?
Oh, Baldwin Park, South Precinct of Dayton. Chapter of Natural Influx.
Al?
Al Beard, Downtown Dayton.
Al Harmon, Superintendent of Dayton. Paul Beckman was Southern Moon Optimist.
Khadija Lee, Exchange Club of Dayton.
Margaret Kreckmeyer, Dayton Women's Club.
Brian Travis, MAA. I'll take 1 minute to do this. The base is having an event in September. The upcoming honor flight in September might be the last one. And when the Air Force heard about this, so few veterans signed up for it. When the Air Force heard about this, might be the last one. The Air Force stepped in and said, instead of their flights going from Dayton to DC and back, we're going to fly them in a military C-17 aircraft to Andrews Air Force Base from Wright Pat and then back here again. So I'm on a committee with the deputy commander from 445th. We are putting together an event for the veterans. It's all weekend long, marathon weekend, but on Sunday they'll fly to DC and back, and there'll be a concert for them, a very patriotic thing. We are fundraising, and no amount is too little. We have a couple that get more. I put the sponsorship levels on the second page. Individuals, just a few dollars is great, but if you got a company that can afford it, much more. But this will be a fantastic event for the veterans as they're going to DC on their honor flight. Okay.
Jennifer Sediger with Advocates for Basic Legal Equality.
Good to see everyone again. I'm Dan Edwards, representing Mike Foley's Clerk of Court's office.
Shannon Crabtree, Montgomery County Sheriff's Office Police Athletic and Activities League.
And Pal.
From Beaver Creek Women's League. Oh, my grandson Cohen. Pamela Thompson, Twin Tig Incorporated.
Charlotte Harris, Twin Tig Incorporated.
Billy Anderson from Paris, and I just was only on a flight in that part of me.
Sandy Anderson, yes, Billy Anderson for Karen.
I'm Tony Masood, and I'm a Civitan. I'm also a Dayton Area American Forum member, Miami Valley Military Affairs member, Dayton Women's Club member. Is there anybody else? And I'm past president and currently vice president of the President's Club. And the Civitans, we just have this flyer just came out. It's for the cheese event, cheese and crackers event. You buy a 6-pack or more, and we are hosting an event over at the Elks Lodge on in August 21st from 6 to 8 p.m. And when you do the quack pack, you're supporting United Rehabilitation Services. Okay. And we also will have food and drinks. That's all part of the package. And it's a great way to raise funds for a very needy cause. I'm going to introduce to you our guest speaker, Katie Meyer. She is the president and CEO of Downtown Dayton Partnership, an organization dedicated to economic growth in Dayton, Ohio. Her role, Katie works with downtown stakeholders to advance the shared vision and strategy for urban vitality through marketing, placemaking, economic development, events, and clean, safe services. Katie earned her MS in Urban Policy Analysis and Management from the New York School in New York City. She also holds a BA in Political Science and Journalism from the University of Kentucky. Katie is a dynamic leader and a track record in urban revitalization, smart city innovation, and entrepreneurship. She serves at Dayton Development Group about following her role as policy and program manager at Unicity Alta Fiber Smart City Division, where she led digital equity initiatives across greater Cincinnati and Dayton. And I'm gonna have Katie come on up. Everybody wants to talk about this.
Thank you, Tony. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
So first of all, who's familiar with the Downtown Dayton Partnership? Okay, most everyone, good. It's an honor to be here. If you're not familiar with the DDP, the organization was started in 1995, so we're in our 30th year. I'm in my second year as the CEO. And the DDP has played a huge role in downtown's evolution over the past 30 years. A little bit about my background, obviously, you can read the bio, but I am originally from Covington, Kentucky. Although I was just sharing with my table at Father's Day, I learned that on my grandfather's side, my great-great-great-grandfather came from Germany, fought in the Civil War, and then landed in Dayton and spent 17 years here and was ultimately buried in Dayton. So it makes sense because when I first started working in Dayton, it just felt really natural to me. I really fell in love with the community right away. Tony was talking a little bit about my background. I came here working for Cincinnati Bell, which is now Alta Fiber. And at the time we were working on building access to the internet in low-income communities. So I was really working in public housing and with different healthcare agencies and across the board. I just felt like the community really embraced me and I felt welcome immediately and the rest is history. Here I am. But prior to that, I ran the downtown organization in Covington, Kentucky for 9 years. And so although Covington's smaller, there's actually a lot of similarities. And in fact, a lot of downtowns are facing similar challenges now across the United States, whether you're 40,000, 4 million. So I'm going to talk about what we do as an organization, about what's going on in downtown. Feel free to stop and ask any questions. I'm going to go ahead and get started. So, just a little bit about the organization. I actually, start here so you can see on the screen. So that's a little blurry. This is the geographic area we work. The organization is funded by a special improvement district, meaning that the property owners downtown every 5 years have to sign a petition that they are willing to self-tax in order to have these services downtown. So we have to have 50% of the private property owners, not the number, it's a complicated formula. It essentially has to do with the size of the building that they own. And so once we reach that threshold, then the assessment becomes part of the taxes applied to all of the property owners by Montgomery County. And then that funds the DDP to do the work that we do. And this year is a SID renewal year and we're at 49.3%. So I have 0.7% to go and it's due. So we're gonna make it, which is really exciting. So as a charter of the property owners, we work on clean and safe services, advocacy, economic development, marketing, communication, and street vibrancy and placemaking. So as far as our mission goes, just to make it, bring it down a little bit, commerce, community, and culture. So, that our building community downtown, building culture through arts, and then of course, commerce, growth, economic development. These are our priorities. We are seeking a downtown community recognized as the regional, commercial, and cultural force renowned for its ingenuity, balance, creativity, and unforgettable experiences. We defined our values. I think it's just worth mentioning partnership. A lot of the work that we do is with a variety of partners, public and private sector. Our board of directors, we're a little cut off here. I don't know. I tried to fix that already. figure it out. That's okay. So these are our values as an organization, but I think I'll just mention a couple of them. Authenticity. Dayton needs to be Dayton. We're not trying to be somebody else. Enthusiasm. We are the cheerleaders for downtown, and that's what we're always going to be. And it's fun to be the cheerleader for downtown because it's a great place to cheerlead for. Resilience. I wanted to talk about resilience a little bit because, like I said, downtowns across the country are changing. We're living in a post-COVID reality. I think we all know this, but in particular, data is showing that downtowns nationally have lost 30 years of momentum because of COVID. And that has mostly to do with the loss of office workers downtown. And we know that. We can see that very clearly in how that's impacted downtown Dayton. And so as a result of that, cities are starting to really focus on diversifying the economies downtown. So it's not just about office workers. It's not you come downtown, you park, you go to work, and then you leave. But we're investing in downtown as a entertainment district, downtown as a neighborhood for residential development, downtown as a travel destination with our hotels. And so as we build out these other lines of economic growth, we are going to continue to focus on bringing back office workers, but we can't rely on that anymore because businesses are we put as much pressure as we can on the businesses to bring workers back, but they've got to face the reality that they're competing for talent too. Just some numbers for you. If you look back to 2010, we tracked public and private investment in that geographic area that I showed earlier of the downtown. And a lot of this investment, conversations start 5-10 years before the investment is actually made. So, 2024 was actually $400 million in investment downtown, the highest that it's been since the DDP started tracking in 2010, which is incredible. And I'll show you where some of the investments were. One of the things I want to talk about with COVID is foot traffic. I want to talk about office workers, but that actually has a ripple effect because you think about office workers, where do they go to lunch? Well, then you think about the small businesses that serve the office workers, they're usually on pretty tight margins. So just small loss of foot traffic can be detrimental and they might, right now, anybody who's in real estate may know this, like the strip malls are having a heyday. Like their leasing rates are higher than they've ever been because there were a lot of people, especially, in the past couple of years who would work from home and they could just make a quick trip to get their nails done or not that anybody would do that during the work day, but things like that. A little grocery trip on your lunch break, right? So we use a tool called Placer. And Placer is used by cities across the country and it tracks cell phone data. So it understands and it uses algorithms to translate cell phone data into foot traffic. And what I mean by that is it's understanding how many cell phones are in the downtown at a given time. But when it looks at it over time, it can extrapolate and say, well, this cell phone is here every day during work hours. So that's a worker, right? And this cell phone is here, from 5 p.m. to 8 a.m. So that's a resident. And it kind of pulls it out and makes these broad analysis. I always tell people, I understand that's a little bit creepy, but it's not, it can't say like Katie Meyer's cell phone was at the Century Bar at 2 p.m. Right? It understands, it's not, the personally identifiable information is not coming through this data. It's really at a broad stroke. So here on the right is a chart that looks at that geographic area. We can create a map file and say, what's our daily foot traffic? And we're comparing a lot of our data back to 2019 to see how have we recovered from COVID. So in 2019, the daily foot traffic, 51,950. So you can see the dramatic decrease in 2020 and the rebuilding that's been happening. And when we looked at 2024, we found that we're at 84.4% of where we were in 2019. So we are recovering, but we have not recovered. Just on that foot traffic. But like I said, a lot of cities use the same tools, so we can benchmark against them. And we can look and see how other cities are recovering. And a report was put out that shared the data of these obviously much larger cities, but still you can see St. Louis is at 53% recovered from 2019. Whereas Las Vegas is at 103%, so they've not only recovered, they've grown a little bit from pre-pandemic. But Dayton is doing well comparatively, or at least above average. It's not on this chart, but we can look at cities like San Francisco, and it's 30%. They're in bad shape. And Nashville is another one that's in great shape. So they're well above 100%. So we're getting there. We're on average doing fine, but we still have a ways to go. And we're talking about restaurants downtown and how this can have an impact on us. So one of the areas, like I mentioned, that has been a focus of the DEP and of the downtown community in general is investment in housing. And we have seen great success in not only the developments downtown, but their occupancy. So we survey property owners downtown. This one says 89% housing occupancy. It's usually above 90, but there was a new housing development that just had opened that really brought that down for us. But in general, we have about 5,000 downtown residents and 2,386 housing units and more in the pipeline. I'm going to talk about some of the development projects. You're probably familiar with these, but of course the arcade is a signature cornerstone. The hotel opened a couple weeks ago, which is incredible. They are leasing out the small retail areas in the hall going towards Third. I think if you've been following in the news, there's a crochet business, there's a pretzel business, a cake business, there's a gift shop. So they're really filling that out with retail, which is going to be incredible. And the hotel is beautiful. It has a bar that overlooks Courthouse Square if you're interested in a spot to hang out. Can't go without mentioning the convention center. We call it our brand new convention center because every corner of that space has been touched. They've installed new technology, incredible pieces of art. I think people don't understand just generally how much of a renovation it is and how great that's going to be for downtown as well. You all probably know that not that long ago, there weren't many active hotels downtown either. And so the AC and the Fairfield came online and they've been wildly successful. Hotel Ardent recently opened. And this Teca, their restaurant on the first floor, full service restaurant that's open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. If you haven't been there, and Margaret knows this about me, I'm a huge historic preservationist, so I love these adaptive reuses, and it's just beautiful. The colors and the fabrics and everything they did at Hotel Ardent. So that is 118 rooms there. The Deno Tower also is open and doing leasing. You can actually walk in and ask for a tour. Maybe say you're looking for a new apartment if you're just curious. It's a mid-century modern design, historic tax credits, 149 apartments. There's at the bottom, there's 3 floors of office and then first floor retail, and the rest is residential going up. So we're excited to see how that leases.
Where is that located?
It's directly across from the arcade on
The fourth level.
South.
Fourth and level. Okay.
The home telephone building is just another adaptive reuse of the old price store. is now 19 market rate apartments. This is not housing, so this is just a project that was completed last year, the 688 Kitchen Incubator, which is a really incredible organization that helps folks who want to be in food businesses start to have a dedicated kitchen where they can start up their businesses, get the skills to either come out as a restaurant, or maybe they're creating a product for shelves. And that's a really neat project that's at the arcade. The 503, that is a new construction, 156 apartments. So these are all brand new and leasing now. The Delco, former Mendelssohn's building, 160 apartments, 19,600 square feet of retail, and then interestingly, 77,000 square feet of office. You know, I think for all of us who are looking at our vacant towers, we're sort of saying to the developers, like, what are you thinking? And we were wrong and they were right. They probably have, you know, they have more money and data, but what we found in the office market is that businesses are looking for smaller office spaces with lots of amenities, lots of community space, and a fitness center, and you know, maybe a place, a dry cleaning, that highly amenitized smaller spaces are working in the market. And so they were able to lease all of their commercial space without a problem. Whereas the towers, you know, they're a little bit dated and they don't have amenities, and some of them don't even have parking. So we're trying, you know, we're thinking strategically how we fill those offices, or do they get converted to residential, like the Deneau? But that's going to be one of our major challenges over the next couple of years. Just a couple under construction. The library, I never know how to say it, is another developer is doing 18 market rate apartments there. Midwest Tool, so this is across from the 2nd Street Market, so that is another new a new construction, 105 more apartments. If you're seeing a trend here, this is again Woodard and Woodard. Jason Woodard was involved in the Delco and was successful with his office space. So doing more office over here at 3rd and Madison. And then just a couple more in the pipeline. We talked about the convention center, a brand new convention center. But one of their biggest challenges is dedicated hotel rooms and the Dayton Vitality, which used to be the Embassy Suites. I've been around for a year and a half, but there's a lot of buildings in Dayton that have like 17 names. You know, the Mead Building, it's the Dayton Power and Light Building, it's the Key Bank Building, and it's got a new name. So sometimes I get a little lost in this. Anyhow. They're working they've got a developer who are getting very close to finalizing a deal around a new hotel that would serve the convention center. St. Paul Church has gotten historic tax credits, and they're doing work on transition to a boutique hotel with a restaurant and event space. Market Development, this is their first project in Dayton. They're a Columbus-based developer. This is another new construction. They're a younger development group. They do really cool type of design and architecture. So the 114 apartments at 2nd and St. Clair. And of course, the Center City building. This is the most transformative, incredible project and creative. I mean, it's as complicated as the arcade in terms of the amount of partners at the table. The RTA just closed on the Air City garage, which is the garage on the end of it. They spent $10 million to help close that gap and make this project viable. This is going to have, it says mixed use, it's going to have residential, it's going to have affordable housing for seniors, 70 units of affordable housing, as well as market rate housing, commercial, office, parking. This is brand new. The city is, buying the old Julie's and putting a police station downtown. So that's going to take a couple of years. They've got to do environmental demolition construction, but the community's really excited about that project. And so I ran through those all really quick, but I hopefully it paints a picture of sort of how we're diversifying, not really focused on building new office towers, really focused on hotels, on and on residential. So this slide's actually a little bit dated, but kind of get the idea here. The Hilton Garden and the Convention Center headquarters are in St. Paul. So that's the landscape and the exciting projects that are going on. I'm going to talk a little bit about the work that we do at the DDP. So one of the things we do is we contract for downtown ambassadors, and their job is to pick up litter, remove graffiti, remove weeds, help you get to your car. It's an organization called Block by Block that works all over the country, and we've got our own downtown ambassadors. And they're just wonderful people who spend all of their time keeping downtown tidy. We do things like the flower pots. We do a big cleanup downtown. Again, just beautification. I will say, if anybody knows my predecessor, Sandy Goodor, she's amazing, but I think she knew every single person in the downtown. So when I was handed this project, it was, okay, we have like 123 flower pots, and everyone has a different person who, plants and waters the flowers. And I was like, oh, wow, So we've contracted that out. We have Grunder actually does all of our flowers downtown, but that is a testament to somebody who knows 123 business owners willing to do their own flowers. Sandy did a great job with that. We implemented the DORA. This was definitely a COVID project, but most cities have DORAs if you're not familiar with them. In Ohio, anyhow, where you can buy a drink and walk around with it. I mean, we do have the biggest DORA in Ohio, not to brag, but close to downtown.
Right.
and for the businesses, we're just trying to fill that gap, of helping our small businesses be successful. So we've had 160,000 DORA cups. That's what we control. You've got to have this cup. Although, I mean, some of the residents have told me, and not just any resident, but maybe residents who run organizations, that they take their cup and take it home, and then they fill it, and then they walk around. I was like, come on, you're cheating the DORA. We launched a couple years ago a Downtown Dollars program. So this is a gift card that works at 7. How many do we have? We have over 70 businesses, 80 downtown businesses who are enrolled. And so this is a great opportunity if you're looking for a gift or holiday program to support downtown, because making direct investments, and we also match. So actually the 23rd, for every $50 you spend, you get 25 free. So it's a really great deal where we can help incentivize people to come shop downtown. And so those are some of our programs. I could go on about some other ones. We just put up a residents association just to build community among our residents. We do small business socials. But I want to talk about NATO for a minute. This has been was a huge priority for us. I know it was highly inconvenient for some people, but the big picture is it's really a momentous and incredible historical convening, and it was all over the news. So you probably know that NATO hadn't had one of their assemblies in the United States since 1993, and they were in Orlando, Florida, and they came to Dayton this year and as the 30th anniversary of the Dayton Peace Accords. And we got to use that as an opportunity to make investments in downtown. So for us at the DDP, we get to do sort of the fun stuff. The city had to deal with security and fencing and all of that, but we did the banners downtown. If you've seen them, it's all of the NATO countries, an alphabetical order coming up and down. We did the new Dayton sign where the Y is like a peace sign as a commemoration of that. We focused a lot on beautification, added some lighting, and we did a mural at Courthouse Square. And then we did wayfinding, helping people navigate downtown who were here. As an individual, I wasn't privy to all of the meetings that were happening among the delegates, but I did get to see some of the agendas and it was really fascinating. And you had your socialists and your conservatives and your liberals and having their strategy meetings in different rooms at the Schuster. It's just, I don't know, it's so big globally to be happening, like right in our backyard. I did get to go to one event at the Air Force Museum, and I was sort of joking because all the speakers were men and they were all different presidents or prime ministers of different NATO countries. And then the last speaker had doctor as a title. So I didn't know that she was a woman and she's the president of Kosovo. And she spoke and she was so inspiring. And she was talking about, you know, how any American, especially the soldier, is welcome, and just how their sacrifice and their kids could grow up feeling safe. I mean, it was so inspiring. And then she sat down and she was right next to me. I was like, I was sitting next to a president. How cool was that? So that was a really meaningful project, and I hope everybody feels really proud that we were able to do that successfully. If I go into the details, people were frustrated that there was so much security. But what a lot of people don't know is that at the last NATO meeting in Montreal, just 6 months prior, there had been car bombs and threats, and it was really, there were a lot of safety considerations. So, we went strong on safety and nothing happened. So that's the good news. So there's the Dayton sign I referenced. We also wanted to clean up some of our vacant storefronts, so we engaged local artists and put art up. As historically, we've been involved in a lot of the murals downtown, the 8-4 Memorial in the Oregon District. We work with local artists to wrap utility boxes downtown. All of this is what we call public art or placemaking, and that is, these are the things that are authentic to our community that make people want to be downtown. Courthouse Square is probably our biggest project. We're working on full redevelopment of Courthouse Square. If you think about Main Street and you think about all of the work that's been done around the Levitt and around the Schuster and around the arcade, Courthouse Square is sort of that last public space that really needs a major transformation to be successful, and it has an identity crisis. I think for a lot of people, they think about all of the live music, the big bands that people would come down and see at Courthouse Square. And I'm so curious to know who paid for those, because there's been some really big names. But now we have the Levitt, so it doesn't need to be a music venue, right? So we're looking at a public gathering space that helps attract people to those offices. We talked about amenities for office space. Well, it'd be much more interesting to have to locate a business in the Mead Tower or one of the towers if you have a really beautiful public space outside with activations than it is one that's a little bit dated and underutilized. So we hired a consulting firm and have a huge group of people working on this project. We've narrowed it down to 3 designs. And so I would say this year you'll start to see us sort of roll out what that strategy looks like. And of course, there will be a capital campaign associated with it. But I think I speak for myself and the committee that the project is going to be pretty cool. And it's going to make a big impact and really make that space still renewed and rejuvenated for the next 50 years. And in the meantime, we host lunch programming and some after work programming there. Here's a little bit about Courthouse Square. These are some of the things that we've been doing in the meantime, because I think by the time we actually do the full redevelopment, it'll be a couple of years. So things like lighting, murals, the fountain. If you haven't seen the fountain, it's really beautiful. County investment. We have large scale events that we produce. Art in the City is one of them. We didn't do a couple of our events because we focused on NATO this year, but after Art in the City, we're going to be focused on the Dayton Holiday Festival, which is in its 52nd year. I think most people are pretty familiar with that event. All right, so I ran through that pretty quick. I got questions.
Yes.
Let's start here.
Does downtown still have opportunity zone status, and if so, how long will that last?
Yes, and I don't know.
And is that driving this development that's been going on for the past,
It's certainly a piece of it, you know, I think what Dayton has figured out from the arcade is that we can do really complicated deals that bring a lot of those incentives together for properties that otherwise the private market wouldn't touch without those incentives.
Thank you. Is it strictly the Dayton area? You work strictly for the Dayton area or county?
I work specifically for that area. Oh, well, let's see. We'll get there. So this geographic area is where the property owners pay for us to do our work. And so, we do some work out of that area, but only with special needs.
Okay, I noticed on the page with the ambassadors, you had something about panhandling. What does that mean?
Could you use the mic? I don't know.
So the question is about panhandling and what do we do about panhandling? That's a great question. We don't do. That is probably an issue this is a presentation that was done before I came and I just added to it. I would say that there was some work done to encourage people to give fair change through. There were parking meters where you could donate money and then that would be distributed to organizations. So to discourage people from supporting panhandling. Of course, you know, we work with the police on that and they understand there's a lot of civil liberties and things associated with that. But to be honest, that doesn't come up as an issue for us. Like we don't have a lot of complaints about panhandling. We have more complaints that would be related to graffiti or maybe loitering than.
This one. Yes, I was wanting to know is that, you know, the city is really going into broadband. Because it seems like it stops at certain streets, like it stopped at First Street and that's it. So anybody that lives close to the river, we were left without broadband. So you can see what happens to our Wi-Fi that we have to pay for versus that it's only a block away. And we looked into it and it was really cost prohibitive. And that's something I think that even with the apartments next door and everything, people do it from home. And if they had broadband, that would be a good selling point to bring more people downtown and have that mixed use. But it's only in certain locations. And since you work for AT&T.
I know, you're pulling on my back, past job. I don't know what the city's plans are. I know the city owns a lot of fiber, and they're trying to figure that out, but I really don't have a good answer for you. But I am gonna ask, because I think it'd be interesting, especially if you're telling me that there are businesses in the downtown that don't have access to high-speed internet. That's really an issue. So even here, you know.
Oh, yeah, it stopped right there at First in Ludlow.
Yeah, that's why I couldn't use the iPad. I had to go to my iPhone because
Because Spectrum won't have, you know, our historic building has too thick of walls. And we keep trying to get bigger and paying more money to try to get routers to help it. But you really need broadband. And, you know, the thing is that there are businesses and there are people living further than First Street toward the river, and that really would also benefit from it, but, and then the other thing says historic preservation. Has anyone looked at trying to market that diner? Would somebody be willing just to move it out?
That's what
At their expense, but just give it to them instead of destroying it?
that's the goal. That diner can be relocated and they're going to look for a new home for it. They're not planning on developing that.
that's good. It's a beautiful piece of.
I'm gonna go around here and then I'll come back to you.
I thought I read that there was a small fire in the arcade.
Yeah.
So what's the update on that?
So one of the residential units on the second floor had an illegal grow operation and it set off the sprinklers and it flooded into table 33, iHeartRadio, and I think it hit a little bit of YSO. They were able to get it under control pretty quickly. Table 33 is gonna be closed for a couple of weeks for reconstruction, but you know, that particular resident is having a very bad week.
Thank you.
I have two questions. You mentioned a new hotel across from the convention center. Is that the one that's there now just being renovated or an absolutely new hotel?
It would be a complete ground up, brand new hotel. They're looking for a national, or it would be a national brand. The one across the street is called Dayton Vitality. That owner, you know, the convention center and the city and the county have done everything they could to try to just make that be the hotel of choice. But the owner is, you know, got some reasons for not doing that. So they have 4 floors, the top 4 floors that they have renovated and opened, and they're gonna take a phased approach and, you know, do 4 more floors and then do 4 more floors. It's sort of an interesting concept. There's I think it's an Orlando Vitality. There's a couple of them across the country, but it's a low service hotel where it's like an Airbnb where they email you your code. So you kind of